Out of bed at the crack of noon. Hello, hello. My name is Michael. Hey. Some people also call me Karma. Hey, hey. Or Tarzan. What it do? Others call me God. What up? This is now month 4 of being jobless and on quarantine, and I don't know about you guys, but cabin fever has been kicking in so hard lately. But thank you, Bailey Sarian, for getting us through this. You too, Brad Mondo. So, inspired by Miss Bailey Sarian, I decided to do my own little makeup story time videos myself. A little bit of a disclaimer. I, kinda have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to makeup. Please save the tutorials. So I work in California, and there are quite a lot of yoga studios. And most of these yoga studios, they usually had a statue of this man who had an elephant head. So my question was always, how in the hell did this guy get this magical elephant head? Because I want one. So let's start off with his parents. Lord Shiva. Now he is known as the god of destruction. He's the destroyer, the regenerator, also known as the protector. And his wife, Parvati, she's known as the goddess of fertility, children, and love. So Lord Shiv and Parv are, hanging out at Parv's palace. And Lord Shiva's fixing to leave back to his own residency. He lives in a mountain village called Kailash that's kind of far away from where he and Parvati are staying. So not too long before Shiva is scheduled to leave, his wife Parvati goes down and takes a bath down by the river. Well, it's more like a mud bath. If you want to get really technical, it's a saffron bath. When she got out, she was covered with saffron paste. Because she had so much paste on her body, she just started peeling it off and thought to herself, oh, let me make a mold of, a young boy. Shiva's gonna be off soon and I'm gonna be lonely, so let me just make a paste mold out of the clay that's on me. He couldn't have been older than, 13 at most. So Lord Shiva, being, the awesome god of rejuvenation, said, hey, you know what? Since I'm going to be leaving soon, why don't I just bring this paste mold of this young boy to life for you? So of course Parvati was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Sure, go ahead. So he used his magical powers and he brought this paste mold of this boy to life. So Shiva brings his boy to life and he dips, right? So Parvati was like, oh great, I now have a son. I also need somebody to guard my palace, so who better than to cast my own son as the main guard? So back then, instead of being called guards or secret service or, royal attendants, whatever, they were called Ganas. But because this boy was Parvati's son, he was, head honcho, #1 Gano. Rumor has it that he was one of the best guards that the palace has ever seen. One rule his mom gave him was to not let anybody in unless she said so. And that he did. I assume like a very long time had passed since Shiva had left, but is ready to come back to his wife. And I don't know if he forgot that he brought this kid to life and he kind of forgot to introduce himself before he left, but Shiva meets this young guard boy and was like, hey, what's up? I'm just coming in to see my wife. But the young boy didn't get the approval from his mother, so he said, sorry, Mr. Shiva, whoever you claim to be, I don't know you, so you can't get in. So at this time, Shiva was like a celebrity, like Beyonce status. So he was like, how dare you not know who the hell I am, boy? Get out of my way. To Shiva's surprise, this child somehow had the strength of 10 different gods. King Kong ain't got shit on this boy. Shiva was obviously upset. Shiva was traveling alone, so he didn't have his army there at the time, but he said, little boy, you don't know who the hell you just messed with, I'ma be back. Little boy took the threat as nothing and let Shiva go back on his way. Shiva returns back to Kailash, he rounds up his warriors, and they head on over back to Parvati's palace to battle. So Shiva and his warriors arrive, and again, they're greeted by this 13-year-old boy, and all hell breaks loose. Every single one of his soldiers ends up getting slaughtered or ends up fleeing because this kid is just whooping ass, right? Shiva eventually backed off. for a little bit. So after thinking for a while, Lord Shiva was like, okay, look, the mortals can't help me. I can't do this alone, so let me call on the people who are equally as powerful as I am. So he went to Lord Brahma, the four-headed god, and to Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva asked them, he says, yo, brethren, what up? Says, yo, look, you guys, I'm trying to go and see my wife, but there's this Ghana security guard kid who's not letting me in. I try to go in, and he's literally just killing all my men. So I need your help. Can somebody either help me fight this kid or something? Because, you know, I want to see my wife. I miss my wife. Lord Brahma, who's known as the creator of life, was like, oh, yes, sure. I'll go and talk to this kid. Why not? Brahma's like, okay, Shiva, you stay here since you literally just had a war with this kid. I'll go and talk to him, and then, we could just, you know, be adults here. Brahma goes over to Parvati's palace and tries to talk some sense into this boy, but he couldn't even get the words hello in before this kid turned on defense mode and just started, you know, almost kicking Brahma's ass too. Brahma left immediately and came back and was like, yo, Shiva, I know exactly what the hell it is you're talking about. This kid, he doesn't even want to talk to me. I don't know what we're supposed to do, but I will fight with you. And so will Vishnu. After contemplating for a little bit, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma gathered up all of their army men. Shiva even calls in the security guard of his own mountain village named Nandi. It's the day of the battle, everyone's all ready, they're gonna go fight the kid, and they all round up outside the palace thinking, you know, this kid has no idea what's coming to him. However, to their surprise, this kid was ready. He was just waiting on these people to come. So, a big battle breaks out, and you know who catches wind of it? Lord Parvati. Now, I'm not exactly sure how she didn't catch wind of, like, the first battle, but she caught wind of this one because it was so big, there's so many army people outside of her palace fighting her son, right? One thing about Parvati, she's supposed to be, you know, the goddess of love, fertility, and, you know, everything all lovey-dovey. But she's also known as kind of a shapeshifter. She summons Lord Durga. Lord Durga is basically Parvati in her warrior form. You know, if you've seen this movie, then you know what I'm talking about. There's Parvati and then there's Durga. So she catches wind, these people are trying to kill her son and they want to get inside. That's all she knows, so she's like, screw it, time for war. The thing about Lord Durga is you don't mess with Durga. She is the reason why men fear having women in war. So Lord Durga is over there and she just starts, you know, whooping ass left and right. And like before, the soldiers either were slaughtered or they retreated because they knew they were going to be slaughtered either way. So eventually Lords Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva all retreated back. And Shiva's like, I really want to see my wife. What in the hell? Why can't I just... So he plans for another war. Again, they showed up thinking the boy wasn't going to be prepared, and lo and behold, he was ready. So another fight begins. But Lord Durga, for some reason, didn't get memo of this fight as quickly as the last one. So Shiva was fighting this kid for a while, he couldn't win. Brahma was fighting this kid for a while, he couldn't win. Then it was Vishnu's turn. Naturally, one would think after fighting 3 grown-ass adults, a 13-year-old would be tired. That 13-year-old energy is something else. So as Lord Vishnu was fighting this little 13-year-old, Lord Shiva somehow manages to get behind the boy somehow and hide behind, like, behind a tree or like a pillar from the palace gate or something. He's thinking to himself, look, I know how to stop this kid. I'm not gonna like it, but I'm gonna have to do it anyways because I want to see my wife. But his weapon of choice was a trident. So Lord Shiva was able to throw his trident, and not only did it hit the boy, it cut the boy's head off. So you just won a war, so the soldiers, Brahma and Vishnu, they're celebrating, and everybody else is, you know, having a good old time because they finally defeated this kid who's been blocking their entrance. Except for Shiva. Shiva kind of had his sudden realization a little bit too late, if you ask me. It wasn't until he saw the headless carcass of a little teenager, then he was like, oh, I think I kind of went a little too far. Because he then started thinking to himself, oh crap, I came here to see my wife. This is my wife's kid. I just killed him. So now I'm just going to enter this palace for another ass whooping. Of course, this news ends up making its way to the boy's mother, Parvati. So not only was she sad about her only son being decapitated, she was also upset that the man who was responsible for bringing this boy to life was also responsible for his death. So Goddess Parv turned into Durga and went berserk. There was no stopping Durga. Now I already said you don't want to mess with Durga. Durga is level 1. Durga was said to be so angry that Lord Kali popped out of her forehead. Now Lord Kali is Durga times 1,000. There is no stopping her. If you are unfortunate enough to be in a sight of Kali, you were dead. Not only did she make sure you were dead, she also would
collect your fucking head.
Not only would she collect your head, she would collect all your limbs and wear them as clothes. She would also steal your weapons when she killed you too. Very creative woman. You didn't want to piss Kali off. Nobody was safe around Kali. She just didn't care. So weeks and weeks went by and Kali is just killing everybody she sees, not knowing how to mourn properly for the death of her son. And Durga just kept on turning into Kali, so much so that Lord Shiva and Brahma and Vishnu, they were all like, look, what do? We all effed up. What can we do? Let's go over to her and go and apologize and try to make a deal. So instead of all going together, Lord Brahma, the creator of life, went to Parvati and was like, hey, we are so sorry what happened to you. We are so sorry for what we did to you. Please, what is there that we can do? Just please stop killing people. There's not going to be any more life left if you keep on going like another few days. Parvati was like, okay, look, you guys bring my son back to life and you also give him a royal status amongst you guys, and then I'll stop. Until that day, every single person that I come across will die. And I'll be laughing the whole time too. Lord Brahma brought this request back to Shiva, and Shiva was like, okay, yeah, no, I can bring people back to life. Sure, why not? Ooh, but I don't remember where his head is. But quick thinking Shiva was like, okay, hey servants, go and get the head of the first living being that you see that just so happens to be facing northwards. Why the north? I have no idea. So Shiva's army and group of servants went to go and look for a head. And what animal did they come across? An elephant. Fortunately for the elephant, it was asleep. But unfortunately for the elephant, it had its head cut off. So they brought the head back to Lord Shiva. Shiva placed it on the headless carcass of this teenager. And he said his mantra, just a fancy word for prayer, for those of you who don't know. And the kid was brought back to life. So they brought this elephant-headed boy back to Parvati, and she was so happy to see this boy, she didn't even care that he now had the head of an animal. So as promised, Lord Kali finally backed off and stopped killing everybody. Lords Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva welcomed this new elephant-headed boy into their, royal gang. They also said, look, you are going to be worshipped first. He is the first Hindu god to be worshipped before all the other ones. You are now going to be known as the remover of obstacles. And since his purpose was to be the Gana for his mother's palace, they named him Ganesha. So the next time you see Ganesha, make sure to say hello.